Hey guys, in this video I want to show you how I make high quality proxy cards for Pokemon. You can obviously use this technique to make other TCG or trading card games like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! But in this video we're going to focus on Pokemon. So for this project, these are the things I'm going to be using: a laser printer, a paper trimmer, a corner rounder, and a laminator. I get my card images from pkmncards.com. So here I'm going to search for Charizard, and they have pretty much every card available in the TCG. I usually display it by images, and then you click on it, and then right click and go save image as. So you want to save all the cards you want to print into a location where you can get at it later. So I'm just going to save a couple of these here. Next, we're going to download a program called Inkscape. It is completely free and it's available for Mac, Linux, and Windows. So download the version for your operating system. And I'm going to download the 64-bit version for Windows here. And then we're going to install that application. And then from that point on, we can start laying out the cards and printing them. So here's a template that I made to lay out the cards, and I'll have links to it in the description, so make sure you download that. And this is what we're going to use to lay out the cards. So after firing up your Inkscape program and loading up the template, you want to make sure that you're on the right layer, and once that layer is selected, you can check off some of these options here. Make sure that they're turned on. Basically, those will snap the images to the borders so you can align it a lot easier. So the first thing we're going to lay out is the card backs, and I usually start off with these. So again, with the card backs, you want to Google the images for them. You can most certainly find these online easily. Just type Pokemon card backs and you'll find some, or you can just leave it blank. Sometimes I just create my own card backs because they are just proxy cards and I don't really need them to look like official or anything. So, but if you want it to look like the real Pokemon cards, you can find a card back image and then use that. And what we're going to do is cut and paste and align them to the template here. I'm just going to quickly cut and paste and fill up the template. And then once you do that, you can start printing it. So hit Control P, and that should bring up the print dialog. I'm going to send this to my Brother laser color printer, and here it is. So I printed about 7 sheets on one side, and then what we're going to do now is put it back into the printer, and we're going to print the fronts. So now we're going to lay out the card fronts. So using the same template, you can just drag and drop the images that you downloaded from PKMN cards or wherever you want. And you want to align the images to the borders, and you want to drag it and snap it to the border there. And you want to do that for all your images, for all the images that you want to print. Once you have all the images laid out, we can send them to the laser printer. So once it's printed, we want to laminate the cards, and I'm going to use this laminator, and it does have options for 5mm and 3mm laminate sheets. I'm going to go with the thicker 5mm because it gives the cards a nice feel to it. Thinner ones will feel kind of cheap. So here are the 5mm laminate sheets that I got off of Amazon. The laminator also came from Amazon, and they weren't, terribly expensive or anything. So take one of the sheets that you printed where there was artwork on both sides, the card back and as well as the fronts, and then we're going to stick this into the laminate pouch here. And obviously we're going to put this in the laminator, and it'll heat it up and it'll fuse everything together. So here is the laminator from Amazon. It's their Amazon Basics house brand. This works pretty well. Just insert it into the opening and it'll slowly grab the sheet and pull it through and fuse everything together. This process takes a couple of minutes. It's not terribly slow or fast, but it doesn't really go any faster than what you're seeing right now. But what you want to do is do this for all the sheets. And the 5mm laminates are actually pretty good in terms of thickness. They do feel like a real like Pokemon card, especially if you don't want to use any sort of sleeves or anything. So you can use these just like the way it is because they are laminated and they are protected. So these are a little bit higher quality than your typical proxy cards where you may not laminate them, or maybe you just want to stick them in some sleeves. But I think this approach works better because they are protected and they last longer. And of course, you can use this technique to make, your custom trading card games, not necessarily just reprinting something that um, is available. So sometimes when I make board games and I need to make some cards, this is also the way that I do it. So here it is all laminated. On the back here, you'll see I use a different card back. It's actually a red one. So I'm just going to fast forward through this part. But here I'm just laminating the energy cards. Next, we're going to trim the cards, and this is a paper trimmer that I picked up from Amazon. I'll leave links in the description, but this one is really good because it actually has a guide wire down the center to help you align the artwork with the blade, and I've gotten really good accurate cuts with this one. You can also use scissors or an X-Acto knife with a ruler, but I find those to be a little bit, not as accurate, and it's a little bit more time consuming sometimes. So paper trimmer definitely helps out. After you've trimmed the cards, we're going to round off the corners because the corners are actually pretty sharp, and real Pokemon cards or trading card games usually don't have sharp corners. And this is the Kadomaru Pro, which is a corner rounder. It comes with 3 settings, I guess: small, medium, large. And for Pokemon cards, small works best. So you're just gonna have to use this thing here. Sometimes you have to do it twice, but it gives you a really clean corner. So pressing it twice there, it's going to be harder to cut or round because of the laminate, but you may have to use a little force. But you can see how clean it is. So here are the other cards that I've already rounded off, and they look pretty good. And of course, I have a different card back for this one. They are looking pretty legit, and of course I think they're a little bit higher quality than saying printing them off on regular paper and just stuffing into some sleeves. So these definitely give it that professional feel to it, and they do have that flex of a real Pokemon card. In fact, it's probably a little bit more stiffer, I think, because of the laminate. Anyways, that's it for this video. So that's how I make my own proxy cards for playing with. Sometimes I don't want to use my real cards, or I don't actually have them. So being able to print your own is definitely an advantage. And with a couple of tools like a laminator, printer, and a paper trimmer, you can definitely make your own. Hopefully you found this useful, and if it did, comment, like, share, or subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.